All right, I think we're up. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Seek and Destroy show. And today I have two very special guests with us. First up, friend of mine for many, many years and co-collaborator on projects before, and maybe something one day again. We'll see. But a great and very talented guy who has a book on Indiegogo right now, Volume 2 of SeaDog and Killswitch. Both of these guys are working on it. First, we have the writer, Mark Polton. Mark, say hello and let everyone know where they can find you, sir.
Hey guys, Seek, thanks for having us. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Coney Waves. I also have my own YouTube channel, Primetime Polton. Please feel free to subscribe and check it out.
Awesome. And Clint, we have Clint, who is the artist of SeaDog and Killswitch, or codename Killswitch, Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1, can you guys buy these online right now, or can they get them through your Indiegogo?
Yeah, you can get it through the Indiegogo. Both books are available.
Yeah,
awesome. And Clint,
book 1 and 2.
Awesome. And Clint, tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got roped into this project, working with Mark again, and also where people can find you online.
You bet. You can find me pretty much on Twitter at Clint Olinsky. With Mark, we we had worked together before at Arcana on a couple of different books, and I had seen, like everybody else had seen, the success they had with Graveyard Shift, and was like, "Oh, Mark's doing that." I'm like, "Man, I should drop Mark a line." And so I emailed him to see if he, was interested in collaborating on something, besides Graveyard Shift. And we just kind of started spitballing ideas, throwing them back and forth. It kind of became like a team-up book almost. That's the way I kind of think of it, because obviously him and his son created SeaDog. And then I kind of had this idea for kind of like a 90s kind of Wildcats-esque Cyberforce type of team. And so we kind of merged the two ideas, and it kind of became this kind of not oddball, but kind of like different mix of like superhero team up books. So that's kind of where the idea of SeaDog and codename Killswitch kind of originated from, and we kind of just ran with it from there.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Actually, like I said, I was rereading it a second time before today's episode, and I noticed that kind of that love and that the callbacks to those 90s comic books that we all really love. Like I'm like Mark, I love X-Men stuff from the late 80s and into the 90s, and Wildcats too. And actually it's funny, some of the books you mentioned too. I worked at Top Cow for a while, with Mark Silvestri and Matt Hawkins. And so I was like a fanboy being there. Like, I don't think I was very productive at all, actually. I think every day I was just like, "Hey, remember when you did this?" I was like, "Chris Farley." I'm like, "You remember that?" And they're like, "Yeah, we remember it." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that was awesome." So going into this book, because like you said, it is a kind of a team up book. It's a lot of fun. And by the way, hi, Brendan Miller. Brendan in the chat says hello to everybody. Thank you for being here, Brendan. So the book is, it's like you have this kind of lone wolf, if you will, kind of guy, SeaDog, that Mark and his son created, Chase, and he's a really fun character. He's like a hip hop dog rapper during the daytime, and he's got like all these fans, and he's got Peter, who's like the kid who used to be his best friend when he was just Cody the dog. And now he's evolved into this superhero thanks to this like magical amulet and stuff, or these powers that he got into. And you have him on one side, and then you have like this, like which is, by the way, is a great it's a great like secret identity for him, because he's kind of tries to do the altruistic thing when he's the super dog, but he's like such a d-bag and womanizer when he's the rapper. And I'm like, oh, that's so great.
I love when people describe the character of SeaDog, because there's a lot of different facets to it.
Yes. Yeah, he's a I wouldn't say he's a hard elevator pitch, but it's a very interesting elevator pitch, that's for sure. And then on the other hand, like you said, you have like this Wildcats, like this government group of people that are willing to, kill if the mission calls for it, and they're very badass. And you have people that are like nods to the Thing, who I'm like a big fan of, with Tundra. And then you got like someone who's like a Hercules type guy, and all these other great characters on the group. Neon, who's like, actually really started liking her towards the end of the first book. So
she's been popular.
Yeah, she's awesome. Not just because of her costume. She's actually pretty cool. But he reminds me of, I grew up reading The Outsiders, so she kind of reminds me a little bit of
Halo.
Halo from Outsiders.
I was a big Outsiders fan also. So yeah, definitely influenced.
That's so good to hear that. So Mark, now that you've heard me butcher the explanation of your book, probably, where did you, what came, how did you and Chase kind of develop the story for the first book, and how did you work with Clint on it, and where, how was that process, and what led you to want to do more after finishing the first book?
So SeaDog came about while the second Graveyard Shift campaign was going on. It was extremely successful. The first book was successful, but the second book did even better, and my whole family was just getting caught up in the excitement of it. My wife and my son would ask every day, how many more backers do we have? What's the totals up to? And Chase was especially excited about it. And Chase has worked with me before. He's drawn pinups for my books, and we did a book together, Pizza Tree, which was nominated for a Ringo Award for Best Kids Graphic Novel. But he was done with that. He was like, Dad, I don't want to do kids books anymore. I want to do something cool like Graveyard Shift. So I was like, well, we can do it. What do you want to do? And so together we came up with SeaDog, which he loves dogs. We have a couple dogs thanks to him. I never thought I'd be a dog person, but here I am now with 2 dogs and no cats. It's a big change of pace for me. But he wanted to do a dog character, and we were trying to come up with a name. Originally, the name of the character was Dogfish, but I looked it up, and Dogfish was actually a kid's book already. And I was like, well, we could do SeaDog. And he liked that, and we came up with his superpowers. Chase was like, he has to be strong, he has to fly, and he turns into a fish. But we finally decided just being a fish was too limiting for him, so he could change into any sea creature. And then we had to think of a super identity, like an alter ego for him, because SeaDog he was originally a puppy, but once he becomes like this humanoid dog, he loves it so much he never wants to go back to being a puppy. So he keeps the amulet that gives him his powers on all the time, but he changes his costume and he becomes a rapper, the world's most famous canine rapper, which is the world's only canine rapper. And his name is very different from SeaDog. It's SeaDog spelled CDAWG, and no one can figure out that the two are the same. So
yeah, I love that bit of oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just say I pitched this crazy idea to Clint, because Clint had seen the Graveyard Shift campaign doing great as well, and asked if I wanted to work together with him, and I was like, sure. And I had this idea, and I was surprised. I thought he was going to run and be like, nah. But he was like, yeah, just one condition. I have these characters that I've been working on. Can we put them together? And I don't know, sort of like how chocolate and peanut butter go together. I feel like SeaDog and Codename Killswitch just blended perfectly together. SeaDog is kind of like off the wall, and like Clint said, Killswitch is his bloodthirsty military team. they balance each other out. And SeaDog is, pompous, and he thinks he's the leader sometimes. So it makes for a fun story, a good team dynamic between all of them.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say I love that scene at the beginning of where those the rapper. Like, yeah, that's so crazy. You share the same name with the superhero SeaDog, and he's like, yeah, I hate that guy. He's such a jerk. Like, how dare he steal my name? I'm going to sue him or whatever. I was like, that's so great to play that up, where he's just like, he's annoyed that the superhero is inspired by him, the rapper. which is pretty great. So Clint, when you heard the pitch, like Mark said, from his point of view, he was like, he thought you were going to run out of the room, but you stayed, and we're like, hey, I'm fine with that as long as we can, if we can bring in my characters too. Yeah, what was that headspace when you're like, oh, okay, we're like, I'm sure coming off of the books Mark has done with a U.S. Assassin and Graveyard Shift, you're probably like, wasn't expecting a talking dog.
It was a bit of a curveball.
Were you like,
I was
is this
definitely expecting something else, and
yeah.
it took me a little bit to wrap my head around it, but the more we kind of kicked it back and forth, and then definitely developing the character, I was on board. I mean, I knew it was going to be interesting, but it really ended up turning out really fun. And I mean, I love the way the story kind of worked out between the team and SeaDog kind of playing off each other. It kind of gives it more of a different twist on like just the traditional like superhero team going after something. I think they kind of comedically play off each other a little bit well, and so it worked out really well. But at first I was like, okay, he's a talking superhero dog that has a secret identity as a rapper who is also a talking dog, and his major superpower is he can turn into any sort of sea life. Like, how the hell am I drawing this? And how am I making it look cool? It was a little bit of an interesting beginning, but it actually turned out really neat.
And I'm sure, as an artist too, you've drawn a lot of different things over the years, and we'll talk about some of that too. There's probably some fun in that where you're like, hey, this is kind of challenging in some way, and not what I expect, and finding refreshing in that. And plus, as long as I've known Mark, I've known him through 2 lifetimes now, and I know to trust this guy when it comes to ideas. Mark, whenever he will go like, oh, I have this idea, or I remember you would tell me about Pizza Tree for the first time, and you were like, and you're promoting it, and you were like, oh, Pizza Tree, and I go, oh, that's kind of a cute kid's book, and then I read it, and I go, this is really good. Like, this is not that I wasn't expecting it to be, but a lot of stuff, everything Mark touches, I really like. Like, I'm a big fan of Mark's, and I'm actually like, and so like, that's why I feel like you probably, if he came to me and was like, hey, talking dog, I'd probably be like, all right, let's do it. Like, you're the only guy, Mark, that I would probably do that to. I'd be like, to anybody else, I'd be like, sure. But Mark, I'd be like, yeah, Mark and Chase, I'm in.
Yeah, it is a nice change of pace too. Writing Graveyard Shift can get the book can be really dark. Sometimes it's hard to make these characters likable because they really are anti-heroes, and they do some questionable things. So to be able to do like fun, straight up superhero books like the type you would see on a Saturday morning cartoon is just so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, talk about marketability too, like a superhero dog and teaming up with like a government X-Men type team. I'm like, yeah, I'd watch the hell out of that show. So with this, like, actually, Mark, I'm going to share the screen here. If you want to go to the Indiegogo,
sure,
and that way we can have it up. Everyone who's watching and whoever's here watching later too. I have the link in the description box to both Mark and Clint's Twitter accounts, and then we also have the link to the Indiegogo. There's how many days left, Mark? 5 days left?
So there's 5 days to the first 30 days. Great thing about Indiegogo is they give you one chance to extend your campaign. So if there's still demand, then yes, we can extend it for 30 more days. So there's still time. There's in all reality, there's 35 days left in the campaign. But this is for book. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so we're at the halfway mark, and and please tell us what we're seeing on screen here.
All right, so our goal was $5,000. We're way past that. We're now getting into like the stretch goal range. At $10,000, we're going to introduce our first stretch goal, which is Clint and I are, like we said, big fans of the 90s. One of our favorite things from the 90s was the Marvel swimsuit issue. So at $10,000, all backers get a mini print of Neon in a very Marvel swimsuit issue style mini print.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's and the next stretch goal, 15,000, will be Rebel in a swimsuit issue type print.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so I'm gonna go through all the different tiers, show people what they can get. Our featured tier is $75. You get Clint's cover to book 2, which is this cover right here, and then Dan Fraga, artist of Black Flag, Bloodstrike, Kid Supreme, one of my all-time favorite artists. He's doing a variant cover for us. Dan's really busy with his own book Black Flag right now, but he sent us this layout. And for anyone who can't tell what's going on in this layout, it's SeaDog in his rap persona with a can of spray paint, and he's doing a mural of Codename Killswitch on the wall behind him. So
this is a really cool idea.
Yeah, this is going to look fantastic when Dan's done drawing it. He has his crew working on it with him. So Shelby Robertson's going to ink it, and Matt Yackey's going to color it. So it's gonna look fantastic when it's done. Clint and I, we can't wait to see it, because we know not only is it going to be great, but it's going to be a big bump to our campaign when people can see the finished cover.
For sure. And Dan, if I'm not mistaken, Dan's pretty good at freestyle rapping too.
Oh yeah. So
I've been following him on Instagram, I think, for years, and every time he'll post a video, I'm like him driving in his car rapping. I go, "Dang man, that guy's really putting it down."
Yeah, that's why I pitched this cover idea to him. I thought it would be right up his alley, and he dug it. So yeah, I can't wait to see how it turns out. And then also, as part of the featured tier, you get the book 1 reprint, and this is John Malin's black and white line art cover. This cover was available in the first campaign, but it was colored by Anthony George, who's the colorist of Graveyard Shift. But John's artwork's so fantastic, so detailed. It was actually Clint's idea. We should include this as a black and white variant for all the big, not only Malin fans, but fans of just great artwork. There's so much like awesome, cross hatching and line work in here. It's going to be great, and we're not even going to put the logo on it. It's just going to be a virgin cover with just the art.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool variant, especially for puppy. There we go.
My own SeaDog wanted to see it.
Of course.
So you get all 3 books for $75, and they'll all come signed by me. For $25, you could get Clint's cover to book 2, or you could get Dan Fraga's cover, or if you just want book 1, you can get book 1 for $25 as well. Also, everything's available as an add-on. Even the first 2 books from the first campaign are available. So if you don't see a tier that has everything you like, when you go to checkout, you can just add on whatever you're missing, and just pick and choose what you want. For $50, you can get both covers to book 2, Clint's cover and Dan Fraga's cover. For $125 is the fan pack. Now you get both covers to book 2, John's line art variant to book 1, and a sketch from Clint. And Clint's already said it's going to be, I know the thumbnail's small, but it's going to be almost a full body shot of one of the characters. The cool thing about this tier is if you signed up for our mailing list, which we had going for a few months before the launch of this book, everyone who signed up for our mailing list, when we went live, we sent out a link to them for a secret tier, and it was a discounted fan pack. So they got everything for $100. So if you see those mailing lists for Indiegogo, sign up for them. You could save yourself some money. I sign up for just about every one I see, because you never know which one I'll end up backing. So you usually get something cool with it. So yeah, make sure you do it. And then $200. This is our priciest tier, but I think it may be our coolest. It's the Babe box. Now this is a collector's box with Clint's artwork on the front. The sides will have the logos on it, and inside will be all of our books, the 3 books from this campaign, the 2 from the first campaign, sketches from me and Clint, trading cards, prints, We just added a SeaDog pop socket to the box, which
Ooh.
here we go down here. There's the SeaDog pop socket. This is what the box actually looks like. And it has a magnetic closing. Actually, if you want to make me full screen, I can share the box. I have one right here.
Oh,
There we go.
There you go.
So here's
Nice.
the box.
Whoa.
Yeah, has the logo on the sides, and it'll open up, and inside will be all the books. I did this with my U.S. Assassin campaign, and we fit 5 books in this. So yeah, we're going to fit 5 books in this, and probably a little more with the trading cards and sketches and prints. So it's a great value, and people really seem to like it. And yeah, we just added the pop socket, which is a nice add-on. So that's all the different tiers. I want to go back though and show some of this artwork. Clint,
do you want me to make this full screen?
Sure. Clint's Clint got Andrew Dahlhaus to be the colorist for the book, and Andrew's fantastic. Works with Brett Booth a lot. Was the colorist on Brett's Bloodshot series at Valiant, and I think is he doing the upcoming X-Men Legends? Do you know that, Clint?
I'm not sure if he's doing the X-Men stuff with Brett. I know he did like all the Justice League and Teen Titans stuff over at DC. And he's been working with Brett for a long time. Those guys go way back, so it was pretty cool to get a top tier Marvel and DC colorist for our book. So it's really
just as good of a team that Brett and Andrew make. Clint and Andrew make a fantastic team too. This artwork's beautiful. Like, this is the first page of the book. If I opened up a book like this at a comic shop, I'd be sold instantly. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, there's Crotch Rocket.
Yep.
my favorite character.
This, as good as that first page is, I think this is the money shot right here. Neon just looks amazing. I know Clint says that the key to her hair is just little squiggly lines, but she has the best hair in all of comics.
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom a little there. There we go. Yeah, she looks great. I love it. I'm glad to hear you were a Halo fan too on on Outsiders. That's cool.
I was a huge Batman and Outsiders fan.
Nice.
And then there's Crotch Rocket in action.
Oh yes. I got a zoom of that one too. There we go. Nice. Sweet. Oh, that looks good.
And then some black and white artwork from that Andrew hasn't colored yet.
The girls are going undercover to start out the story to track down the villain from book 1, Shikari, but they have to find out where he is first. So they have to go undercover at a strip club. So that's kind of some of the storyline that's taking place here. That's why the girls are even more scantily clad than usual, if that's possible. So.
And then a lot of the story takes place on Tharun, which is the homeworld of Stormborn, who is kind of our Hercules / He-Man type character. But his brother Dragonborn has overthrown Tharun and taken the throne. So there's some great battles between Stormborn and Dragonborn. It's just an all-around fun book.
I wanted to draw a bunch of different locales. I wanted to draw stuff set in the city. I wanted to draw stuff set in a fantasy world. Right. We've got some sci-fi elements to the book. So as an artist, it's just kind of fun to draw different landscapes, different scenarios. Sometimes you want to base it more in reality, and sometimes you want it to just be way over the top fantasy or science fiction. So we've got a little bit of everything in this one. Which just lets me draw a lot of like fun, wild stuff.
Yeah.
When we were starting the book, I had this idea in my head of like a double page spread with Stormborn facing off with his brother with a giant dragon on there, and I'm like, we'll try and squeeze this in here somehow.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Mark's, both of you guys have worked in comics for a long time and know what it's like to work with someone of the opposite profession, writer to artist, artist to writer. So with this, was there that discussion where it was like, Clint, were you like, hey, these are some things I'd like to do, and then Mark was like, well, here's some things I was thinking about doing. Did it come like that, or did you kind of start with the basics of the story and build off of that?
We kind of like, I like to hit the ground running, and Mark will like kind of, he'll write the story, but I'll kind of take his story and take some ideas and just run with them, because a lot of times we need some of the art done early as possible to have the IGG page going, the Indiegogo page going. So like Mark will kind of give me some breakdowns, some ideas of the story, and then I'll just kind of run with them to get some art pages done early. And then a lot of times we'll just kind of fit them into the story where we can. And it's great working with Mark because he's like super flexible. Like I'll come up with an idea and, I'll be like, I want to, like the double page spread. And we were actually kind of on the same page with using Tharoon in the beginning, because I hadn't told him about this idea. And he's like, well, we had I'd done a design for Dragonborn, and he wanted to kind of use Dragonborn in the beginning of the story. And I'm like, this is perfect because I've got this idea for the thing with the dragons. So it's just kind of like both of us kind of, working together, but still like throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks. And then obviously, I need to get some of the artwork done early so we can have stuff to show on the Indiegogo page. But yeah, it just kind of both of us kind of, throwing ideas out there, and then we kind of mesh it together as we go along.
Do you real quick, do you want to show off some of that artwork that you have planned?
Yeah, I can share the I think I can share the did it stop?
Let me see.
Let me pull. Is that still sharing?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so there's the neon pinup. I forgot that you had put it on the page already. This is actually the page that I was working on today. So this is our bad guy Shikari. I kind of redesigned his armor a little bit for the second issue here. But Shikari's got all this superhero genetic material. So he kind of keeps creating bad guys as his henchmen. So here's his new group of henchmen for issue 2. And there's Peter still stuck with them, not looking too happy about it. But hopefully SeaDog and Codename Killswitch are not too far behind. But this is kind of their underground lair where they've escaped to, and right now SeaDog and Codename Killswitch are trying to track them down. Here, I'll pull up a couple other things here. Let's see what we got. Here's a splash page of SeaDog fighting, is it Swiss Army Man?
Yeah, Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army Knife, yeah. So that's a new character that Mark created.
I like his hand. That's cool. Yeah.
And there's a Rebel kind of pinning him down and getting the info out of him for where Shikari is.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. Dude, clean lines. Like, your art's really awesome.
Oh, thanks. That one's not quite finished yet. But
I know you're still working, but it looks great. I like the design, though. If I can say, if you the redesign, the sleeker helmet and everything on Shikari.
Yeah.
Looks really cool.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to tweak him a little bit because a lot of times, like, I just dove in on book 1 and wanted to get stuff going. So with issue 2, kind of tweaked some of the designs a little bit, and we kind of wanted him to be kind of like a major villain, like a Magneto level villain. So I kind of wanted to kind of even flesh him out a little bit more than that. So
very cool. Now, I know you probably get this question all the time, but one of my favorite things to talk about on the show is the making of things, movies, comic books, and stuff. And I think some writers out there who are just breaking into comics, I think they need to hear this sometimes. So, how long does it take you to draw a big splash page like that, Clint?
It takes a while. Like, like the 2 or 3 days usually. Like that double page spread was like a 3, maybe even a 4-dayer. The Dragonborn, Stormborn double page spread. The page that I just show you, and it's not finished yet, but that I've been working on that for 2 days now. So, and I mean, I like detail. I like to pour in the detail on this stuff and I want the book to look as good as possible. So yeah, I mean, inking it, penciling it, and inking it is usually a 2-day process. So, I mean, in a good month, I get about 15 pages done. And sometimes not even that many, really. If I'm doing like 3 or 4 pages a week, if I'm doing 3 pages a week, that's pretty good. So 12 to 15 pages a month. So 3 months to basically do a 48-page book. So it's time consuming, but the end results, I'm hoping, turn out pretty well.
Yeah, it looks great. And yeah, because I see a lot of times, like, and when I worked in comics as an editor and stuff, sometimes these younger guys would come in and they'd brag like, I got it done in like 8 hours. I finished my script. And I'm like, don't brag about that. I go, because then the person who has to take care of it now is going to be working on it for 2 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and then let's also go through your script and make sure, so it's always fun. I like to remind people, like, the job of an artist. Like, I saw someone the other day, they said, I paid an artist to do a design, like just like a thumb, like a logo for my YouTube channel. And he's a new artist, so he wasn't charging that much. I said, dude, your rate, I'm going to double it, because artists should get paid for their work, and you deserve more than that. I'm not a big channel, but you certainly deserve more than what you're telling me you're going to do it for. And he was like, well, I'm, willing to do it for the exposure. And I go, never take a job for the exposure. Take money. Like, just ask for money. Like, you deserve money. And so I always like to push that. It's like, get that in people's heads. If you're going to work in comics, make sure your artists are paid, your writers are paid, and that you got plenty of time to do the book and get it out there. It demonstrates the best of both of your abilities. So, Mark, how long did it take to write that spread?
To write the spread?
Yeah.
A minute? I don't know.
That's what I mean, people out there who are watching. It's there's a big gap there, so just keep your artist in mind.
And that is what one of the really great things with crowdfunding, with Indiegogo here, being able to raise the money for a book allows me to be able to spend the amount of time that I want to make the book look as amazing as I possibly can. I mean, you guys have both worked for publishers, and what deadline pressure there is out there. And a lot of times, I would have books that I'd be like super excited to work on, and you just don't physically have the time that you want to spend to make it look. You're doing your best work, but you're also under that deadline crunch. And to be able to spend 2 days on a page to make every page of the book look awesome is really a huge benefit that crowdfunding and Indiegogo has allowed us, to make these books look as good as we possibly can. So that's been, one of the best things about this whole thing has been.
Mark, the working on the book and coming up with this idea with Chase and everything, like you mentioned earlier and a little bit before we started streaming too, working with your son is it's got to be an absolute joy. And him coming to you and saying what type of stories he wants to tell, what is that relationship like? And do you have, does Chase ever get on a Zoom call or a chat with you and Clint, and maybe, is part of like that process as well?
No, as far as like his contribution to SeaDog, we came up with the character, and we came up with like his origin story, which plays out in the first issue in a flashback. And Chase came up with the idea for the opening battle with the kaiju. He really wanted that. So I try to work that in. Any idea that he comes up with that he's passionate about, I definitely try to work in. The rest of the story he wasn't as involved in. He was just more focused on getting his idea SeaDog out there. But yeah, with other projects, he's been more hands on. Pizza Tree, he was very hands on. He already has plans of one day taking over a Graveyard Shift. He has told me he's going to write it one day. Clint, you weren't here, but we were talking before we went live, and I said, "Oh, Chase, that'd be awesome if we wrote it together." And he was like, "Dad, you'll be dead by then." So he has plans on replacing me and taking over my company. He's going to be he's one to watch. He's going to be a big name in the industry, I think.
You might have to keep your eye.
Yeah. I mean, he was 7 years old and nominated for a Ringo Award.
Oh, no, exactly.
Yeah, we were sitting at that awards table and with other pros, and they were like, "How old are you?" And he was like 7, and they were like, "We've never been in up for any award."
No, exactly. There's a lot of comic pros out there that are a lot older than 7 who haven't been nominated for anything. So that's really cool.
But yeah, he already has ideas for other books that we're developing. So we plan to work together for a while before he takes over everything.
Before you get too old and he just takes the whole enchilada.
Before he plots against you. Well, if he does take over your Graveyard Shift, then he needs to Chris Claremont it and open it with like 4 newer monsters jumping through the cover.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm the Chris Claremont to my dad Stan Lee on this.
One thing, he actually did get to work on some Graveyard Shift the last campaign. We have with the third book, one of the stretch goals was a Lil Graveyard Shift, and that's like almost like a Teen Titans Go version of Graveyard Shift. And Chase co-wrote the story with me, and it was going to be a little ash can, but when we hit a certain money level, it got bumped up to a full-size comic. So he's really excited about that. The story is called Little Graveyard Shift Go Fish, and it's a fishing story. He loves fishing, so yeah, that'll be awesome when that comes out. Actually, the artwork's all done for it, and I showed it to him, and he's like thrilled with how it came out.
That is awesome. Before we move on to other projects that you might have coming out, and then also stuff you guys worked on before, is there anything left on the Indiegogo you'd like to show people?
Yeah, you could play the video. If you
wanted. Yeah. We haven't done the video yet.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to do the trailer? All right, everyone, buckle in. Here we go.
SeaDog and Codename Killswitch return in an all-new 48-page graphic novel by Mark Bolton and Clint Polinsky, featuring SeaDog, Soldier 7, Rebel, Tundra, Neon, Stormborn, and Crotch Rocket. Only on Indiegogo.
And that was my dog at the end.
Yeah, I was like, do I edit that out or keep it in? I go, it's probably his dog. I'm going to keep it in.
I was actually looking for like a dog barking sound when I was making that video, and I couldn't find a good one. All the barks on in YouTube's audio library were terrible. And then as I'm recording it, my dog just walked by and barked, and I was like, "Oh, it's perfect. I'm going to keep it right there."
Thanks, buddy. That's awesome. And I noticed, because I went to your YouTube channel too, is you do like making videos and stuff, and I think you even made something that's involved with wrestling too, if I'm not mistaken. Making it.
No, U.S. Assassin, the third volume of U.S. Assassin. Yeah, U.S. Assassin's kind of turning into my G.I. Joe, and one of the cool things about G.I. Joe was they brought in Sergeant Slaughter to be, a real life member of G.I. Joe. So I wanted to do the same thing, and I reached out to a pro wrestler, the Mercenary, Flip Gordon, who wrestles for Ring of Honor, one of my favorite wrestlers, and he served in the Army, and I told him the idea, and I showed him the comic book, and he was on board 100%. So
Cool.
yeah, so he did a cool little intro video for US Assassin, and that's going to launch in the spring. And yeah, there's a bunch of surprises in store for US Assassin. I'm psyched for that. My co-creator on the book, Mike McMahon, he's hard at work on Volume 3. So we hope to have that almost complete by the time we launch. So yeah, we're keeping busy.
No kidding. And yeah, everyone, please, go check out the Indiegogo for SeaDog and Codename Killswitch Volume 2. Keep an eye on Mark. Follow him on Twitter. Follow Clint on Twitter. Make sure you're keeping up with their work. And then also subscribe to Mark's YouTube channel. Clint, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but I haven't really been posting that much on it. I need to. It's one of those things that I've been trying to get myself to be posting more often and regularly, but have yet to really pull that up. The other thing with the YouTube channel and all this stuff is literally I'm sitting at the desk 8 to 10 hours a day drawing. So it's at the end of drawing, I'm like, and the thing is you can live draw on YouTube, and that's another thing that I probably need to get myself doing, because I think that's probably my best bet of doing a regular YouTube channel is live drawing on there sometimes. So I know there's a lot of artists out there that's kind of what they do. So I just kind of need to get that going a little bit better.
Well, I mean, it's tough because I've tried to do writing on stream before, live, where I'm writing stuff, and it's not easy. Because your mind is divided between the chat and your project, and some days that you can do that, and some days you can't do that. But it's hard. So I wish you luck. I mean, I love what I've seen of your stuff so far, and hearing Mark tell me, and then even watching the episode where you were on Mark's Assassin's Guild podcast, hearing that was really great, because I got to find out that you, Clint, you worked for Devil's Due, you did Voltron stuff over there, you worked on I think you worked on G.I. Joe as well, or am I? Yeah,
I did some covers for G.I. Joe.
Okay,
when I was at Devil's Due.
At Devil's Due version, yeah, right, and then obviously Mark and I, because we did a podcast not too long ago where he was on my other podcast, and we talked about how we knew each other and our history of working at Arcana, how I met Mark at my one of my first San Diego Comic-Cons. I went up to Mark and I was like, will you read my script? And he was super supportive. We've been friends ever since. And I heard you worked at Arcana. So it's funny how all of our paths probably crossed numerous times. So
what's crazy with Arcana is I can go on DirecTV and see movies that Sean has done on the pay-per-view, and I'm like, God, Sean's still running with the ball. Holy cow.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, that's the thing is when I don't remember. It's tough because I was working on a project for him, and I started it before my aneurysm, and then I had to finish it like 6 months after my aneurysm, and because that was just when it was due, and it was really hard because I was like, I don't remember where I left off, and it was a really tough project, and I'm sure it caused some frustration for him, and I'm sure he understood my situation, but I think he was like, this sucks. Yeah, this sucks. We had this project and we had this thing we were working on. But I do check in on that guy from time to time, just online, seeing what he's working on. And yeah, that guy has not stopped, man. He's still going.
Animation. I didn't even know he branched out into the animation, but seems to be doing pretty well with it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I wish him well. And now I'm glad because in some way, he kind of, all of us are, have worked with him before and worked for him before. And I heard you mention Scott Rosenberg on the other podcast too, who I worked with Sean as well. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, wow, what a small comic book world it is, really. And I think I worked with Mike Biller, who I think Mark hooked me up with many years ago to ink my first comic book that I did.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I published one book called The Hyperactives through Alias when Mike Miller was running that company. So, and then, Mike worked on G.I. Joe and I was at Devil's Due too.
Right.
So I mean, and that was all years ago now.
Awesome. Oh, like so. And well, I guess with the new stuff coming up, Mark. Like I know you have U.S. Assassin Volume 3, but are there? I know you say you're always busy. So are there other things that you're thinking about doing? Anything else you might collaborate with Chase on? And are we going to get? I know it's. I hate to rush it because I know we haven't got Volume 2 yet. But do you guys maybe see this as a ongoing thing that you might try to do every now and again to do
Yeah,
more SeaDog
yeah.
Codename?
So this campaign is doing great. We're way ahead of our pace from the first campaign. So there really seems to be an audience for this. So I don't see why we wouldn't do a third one. And we'll keep, like the old saying goes, we'll keep making them as long as they keep buying them.
Sure.
And,
Exactly.
yeah. And, the great thing about these characters, like Clint's characters on Codename Killswitch, I feel like so many of them could have their own solo book. Maybe that's something we do like down the line. Like a higher tier would be you get like a flip book with a solo Rebel story or a solo Neon story and a solo SeaDog story. Make it a flip book, something like that. But there's so much we can do with all these characters, and they're just so much fun to work on and write. So yeah, we'll definitely do more. As far as other projects from me, once this campaign wraps up and we go to print, I'm gonna launch my next book, Viking Wolf, which I'm doing with Renzo Rodriguez, he's like super busy. He might be the busiest man in comics right now.
That dude is cranking out work, and it all looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and the other artist on the book is Matt Dalton, who is a local Jersey guy who's just a beast of an artist. I've known him for years, but I knew him as an inker, and then I started seeing his commissions, and I was like, "Why aren't you like penciling?" And he goes, "Oh, I just like to ink." And I was like, "No, we need to do a book together. I'll come up. I have to come up with something for you." He was real reluctant, but he signed on. So the Matt and Renzo are the art team for Viking Wolf. We're going to launch that in March. Then after that is U.S. Assassin 3. And then sometime in the summer or fall, Graveyard Shift 4. So I actually have a couple other books. I don't know when I'll launch them, but they're practically done. I just have to find time in my schedule to to figure out when I can do a crowdfunder for them. But keep a lookout for Black Owl, Loose Threads, and then Chase and I are working on another project as well that we'll eventually have to figure out when we can get it on our schedule.
Man, I gotta say, having been your friend this, for so many years now, and rooting for you every time you got a new project, no matter where you worked, that was always just great to see you doing something that I know you love. And hearing now that you're just like, oh, I have so many books, I gotta figure out a way to squeeze them in my schedule is such a refreshing and an awesome thing to hear as someone who's just like a big, cheerleader for you. And it's really awesome to know that you're that busy, and I'm glad you are, man. And Clint, you're welcome. And Clint, I know you're going to be drawing this and working on this for a while. Do you, after projects, do you take a little downtime, or do you like to look for something to start right after you're done? I'm kind of curious.
I've got books coming, not as many as Mark, but I just finished Pirate Queen, which just ended at the beginning of January with Mandy Summers. So we'll be shipping that out shortly here, probably towards the end of February. It's basically just got to get the book ready for the printers. Wrapping up, obviously, SeaDog and Codename Killswitch. But then I've got a new book that I just did myself called Blue Bombshell, which is kind of my spin on like I'm kind of a bit of a good girl artist. So this is going to be, she's kind of along the lines of like a Power Girl type, voluptuous superheroine type character. And I'm a huge fan of the old JLA with Keith Giffen writing it, and Adam Hughes art or Kevin McGuire art, the old Wahahaha Justice League. So this is definitely going to be along that tone, kind of a humorous take on the superhero team. But that's probably going to be late spring, early summer. I'll probably get an Indiegogo launch for that. But that's something I'm kind of prepping on the back burner. And then with the success of Pirate Queen, just like with the success of SeaDog and Codename Killswitch, me and Mandy are already spitballing ideas for Pirate Queen 2. So that will probably be mid to late summer. So, and then me and Mark are throwing around ideas for SeaDog and Codename Killswitch 3. So yeah, there's that stuff alone right there will fill up the rest of this year for me into next year. So that's kind of you want to plan out a couple months in advance, but like Mark said, you've got to find spots to fit these books in, because running the Indiegogo campaign, it's kind of a multi-month project to kind of get these books, but you kind of want to keep everything moving, and you want to have your next one ready to go, because there's only so much time in the year. But you kind of once you get these books going, you want to do more, and that's definitely both of ours plans, I think, is we've got a stable of characters and ideas and stuff that we want to just kind of. It's fun because it's like it allows you to be kind of like the Stan Lee of the 60s. Is like you've got your characters and your ideas, and even when you're working on one book, you're thinking about ideas for like what you could do on the next one or with the different characters. So I'm having a blast doing this, and I basically just want to keep the ball rolling on all of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys are like avalanches just going down and just building more and more snow, which is great. I mean, that's good for us who like reading great comics. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say, before everyone was saying, oh, don't launch in the winter, right after Christmas is a bad time. But I feel like now there isn't a bad time. Many people are crowdfunding. Get in where you can fit and, launch your book. It just seems like this is the place to be right now for exciting comics. The mainstream will always be, where the majority of people are going to get their books. But if you're looking for something exciting and different, check out the crowdfunded books on Indiegogo, Kickstarter. There's cool stuff happening over here, man. There's so many, I don't know. I find myself backing more and more campaigns. There's just so many good things to choose from, man.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of fans kind of have that connotation of indie books. But like I would say that our book SeaDog and Codename Killswitch is more like the mainstream books that fans used to love from Marvel or DC from the 90s to the early 2000s. I would compare our book to being closer to that than a lot of the stuff Marvel and DC are putting out now that have kind of turned away a lot of fans. Like there's always the connotation of indie books, but like I would say our book is more the mainstream type of book that fans of the 90s and early 2000s really loved, when the comics industry was a lot more healthier than it is now. So when we say indie, like it's a name only. Like we're not a big 2 comic, but I would put our material up against any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you guys, well, one, you have the passion for it. 2, you both clearly have the talent for it. Like to me, there's no arguing there. And yeah, it's like we all have a fondness for the time period of comics where comics meant the most to us, right? Like sometimes it's when you first enter comics, sometimes it's when you just maybe rediscover comics, and we all have these like connections to these time periods. But you're right, there was a healthier environment back then and a lot more ideas that just seem to kind of spring out of the talent of the people creating them, as opposed to like a specific kind of gimmick or like a callback to something. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a big 2 guy, although you wouldn't know it because I think the only book I buy monthly is Spawn. I don't actually buy. I have every issue of Spawn. I never missed an issue in 314 issues now. But I do like, I like my Green Lanterns, I like my Venoms and Spider-Mans and Supermans, but I don't buy them on a monthly basis unless a really good creative team's on there. Yeah. And to me, that's who I realized I started following. Is I'm like, wow, I don't even follow characters anymore. I follow specific writers and artists. And when I see a lot of them go now and make more indie books, I'm like, well, here I go, and it's great because I think sometimes that level of passion and commitment and talent, when you get all of them in together, you want to follow those people. It doesn't matter where they go. So I'm glad that you guys are creating your own things. You work with each other, you collaborate with each other. You don't have to really answer to anyone other than your own kind of consciousness of like, is this my best? And from what I've read here in the first issue and what I've seen so far the second issue, I would say you guys are constantly dishing out your best. And anyone out there who's not checking out these books and not doing what Mark said, even if this wasn't maybe your cup of tea, which I still think you should try it out. But like he said, there's a bunch of great projects on Indiegogo and other places that are people just trying to get that talent out there to you. So sometimes that's just a much better bang for your buck. And plus you get to support someone who is killing it, working really, really hard, working probably, full-time regular jobs and doing the comics. And that's the kind of passion you want in these things. So yeah, I appreciate it. Any last words you gentlemen want to say before we head out?
Just thanks for having us, Seek. It's always great to talk with you. And for everyone in the chat or watching later, man, just please take a chance, check out the Indiegogo page. There's some fantastic artwork there, and both books are available. So if you missed out on the first one, you can catch up. I think you'll really enjoy it.
SeaDog and Codename Killswitch, yo, check it out.
Yeah, and it's funny because like when we were picking a time to like do this, I was like, it was like this was the best time for me, but I realized, I don't really stream on Tuesdays, and so I'm like, I hope people show up. But I think what they'll do is they'll get that notification and go, oh crap, we missed an episode. so if you are watching later on, like, first of all, thank you for being here. Please support these gentlemen's hard work, and also rummage around Indiegogo a little bit and see if there's other things that you might like that are a lot, like whether they're like SeaDog and Codename Killswitch, or if there's like something else, like, support some indie creators this year in 2021 because these guys work really hard. So gentlemen, thank you again for your time. It means a lot to me that you came here. And Mark, I'm glad you reached out to me and that you taught me some of StreamYard so that I could actually do this, which this is like the best video I have on my channel now. and hopefully more people will watch it later on. So yeah, thank you for always being a friend and a supporter of mine. And I'm always going to be a friend and supporter of you, sir. And Clint, now you're in that group too, man. I'm now a big fan of yours as well.
I appreciate it, man. It was great meeting you, Seek.
Thank you, sir. And everyone else, make sure you check the links in the description box. That's where you can follow them on Twitter. And also you can go to the Indiegogo. And I'll also add a link here shortly with Mark's YouTube channel as well. And Clint, maybe I'll still add one for yours so people can sit around and wait for you to get some free time to make some more videos later on. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. We'll see you all later. Peace.
See you guys.
See you.
All right.